Well, that text chain report prompting some pretty fiery questions on Capitol Hill. You've seen it live all day here on CBS News 24/7, specifically Democrats demanding an immediate investigation. So here's what Vice Chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Mr. Mark Warner, had to say. We're going to let you listen to that.
There's plenty of declassified information that shows that our adversaries, China and Russia, are trying to break in to encrypted systems like Signal. I can just say this: if this was the case of a military officer or an intelligence officer and they had this kind of behavior, they would be fired. I think this is one more example of the kind of sloppy, careless, incompetent behavior, particularly towards classified information, that this is not a one-off or a first-time error.
So over in the House, Democrats calling for Pete Hegseth to step down. Democratic Caucus Vice Chair Ted Lieu had this to say during the Democratic weekly press briefing. Watch.
Well, the White House confirmed that these Signal chats were authentic. Instead of apologizing to the American people, Hegseth lied to American people. The cover-up is even worse. Actually, I don't think the cover-up is worse. This whole thing is really, really bad. It shows how not serious these national security professionals take our national security. Hegseth needs to resign, and everyone on that text chain needs to go take some courses on how to deal with national security classified information.
All right, now let's have a contrast, because you are seeing a contrast in reaction. Here's what Republicans had to say.
Look, mistakes happen. If it was a mistake, it is what it is, and it won't happen again. I know that.
Do you think your former colleague Walt should face any kind of?
No. He is as top flight of a guy as I know. He's straight up. Walsh is second to none. So no concerns at all.
And people make mistakes, Those who do not make mistakes can throw the first stone. We all make mistakes, so I'm sure that was not something that he intended or something that he wanted to happen. Give him a pass. Let him work and see what else happens. But the president chose him. The Senate confirmed him. Let him work. If you have never made a mistake, then you can throw the first stone. Let's see if that happens.
I do think it was incredibly sloppy. But that being said, I think it was a mistake, and I can say for certain they're going to put protocols in place so that doesn't happen again.
Do you think your former colleague Walt should face any kind of repercussions?
That's completely up to the president. That'll be a decision that's made in the White House, but I think they're going to correct it. I feel confident in that.
CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small following the intelligence hearing. Taurean, one could say that it looks like Republicans have a strategy which is to minimize, Democrats have a strategy which is to maximize this. Is that what you're seeing there?
Yeah, there couldn't be more further daylight than the responses to this controversy here. Republicans, like you said, are saying let's move on. In fact, House Speaker Mike Johnson said there are more critical issues at the center of the work that Congress has to do than to relitigate what he's calling a mistake. Democrats, however, are underscoring the fact that this could have compromised national security for the United States. I've been watching this intel hearing, and what's been curious, going into this, it was an inopportune time to have the top intel officials testify before Congress. But curiously, though, DNI Tulsi Gabbard did not mention it at all. In fact, the first time she was pressed on it was from the ranking member, Mark Warner, when he asked her, one, if she was participating in it, and two, if there was classified information, whether or not that had some bigger implications. She pushed back, saying she wouldn't confirm in this forum whether or not she participated, even though her name was involved in that group chat. And then two, she pushed back on the idea that this was classified. Warner and other Democratic senators asked her then to explain how she made that determination, which was then we saw a give and pull or pushback there from both her and Ratcliffe, underscoring that no wrongdoing happened there.
You know, Taurean, for our viewers, on any given day where you are, there are many hearings on many matters, but you're hearing that this topic is being discussed in several of the rooms there behind you. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and it's Democrats who are bringing it up. And most of these hearings, they want to continue to center this as the central conversation that Congress should be having. And I should also mention that there is quite a bit of business going on this week. House Speaker Johnson is meeting with Leader Thune and other members of the Republican conference on both sides of the Capitol to talk about reconciliation. There are two significantly different bills that have passed as part of the budget. Now they have to decide how they could come to a conclusion because, in Speaker Johnson's words, he's hoping to get something to the president's desk by the Easter break. That's a already planned 2-week recess that Congress has coming up mid-April. That would mean the Senate has to come to some type of conclusion to vote on whether or not they could reconcile these two bills by next week. Quite the deadline as other big news like this is happening, Reed.
Yeah, it sort of captures the pressure cooker environment that it is there on Capitol Hill, but specific to this national security conversation. You know, you even heard the Republicans say, I can guarantee you there will be protocols put in place. This was a mistake. There will be a fix. You heard that reassurance over and over. So walk us through what some of the potential options are from here. Is it possible that we see investigations from Democrats? Is it possible that Mr. Walz could face, if the news cycle really heats up by the end of the day, by the end of the week, he could face some more solid consequences for this?
Well, Democrats are saying, Reed, everything is on the table. In fact, I think we have sound from Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the floor implying what could happen next. Take a listen.
Every single senator, Democrat and Republican and independent, must demand accountability. I am calling for a bipartisan investigation in the Senate of this mishandling. I am also calling for the defense IG to fully investigate. This is too serious not to know exactly what happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it from ever happening again. Instead of accepting responsibility outrageously, Secretary Hegseth attacked the journalist and called him deceitful. He took the deny till you die approach, even though these messages were already authenticated by the National Security Council spokesperson. Secretary Hegseth's refusal to accept responsibility yesterday was eerily similar to the way he conducted himself during the confirmation process. I fear how he will react to future moments.
Reed, the question coming out of those words is whether or not there's bite behind this barking that we're hearing from Democrats. Considering the fact that they are still in the minority, do they have the power to compel members of the administration, be it through just asking or a subpoena, to testify specifically on this matter? In the minority, they just don't have the votes there. And certainly whether or not they could pursue litigation that could compel courts to actually step in to determine the legality of this group chat that happened here. But again, right now, Democrats are doing a lot of messaging, as we saw from the speaker or from the minority leader, and then as many Dems on the House side are also looking to keep this in the public sphere as members of the Trump administration are just hoping to move on from this sooner than later.
Well, you can bet the conversations will be intense and pointed when the vice president, whose name was also reported as being on that group chat, meets with the president very soon. Taurean Small, thank you so much for watching all of this.